Hey y'all, it's just me, Eileen, and today I am going to be talking about one of my hobbies. Um, this is the hobby I've had the longest. I started this hobby probably when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and it was inspired by my mother and my grandmother, and that is reading. Um, when I was a kid, we lived in a very small town between um, a large city and a, another city that wasn't quite as large. And we would have a bookmobile come about once a week or once every 2 weeks. I can't really remember the schedule. I just know that it came, and it might have been once a month for all I know, because I just know that my mom would take me to the bookmobile, and I would pick out books for her and Granny to read to me. And we would have a stack of books, like, that high. I don't even know how many books there were. And she would check them out, and then when they came back, we'd take those back, and she'd get more. And through them checking the books out, first of all, I learned to read. I did not learn to read in school. I learned to read with my mom and my grandmother teaching me on the Dick and Jane books, the See Spot Run, and all those little books like that. And my mom had bought a Bible story book, which was about like that thick, and it was a big Bible story book. And she would read the Bible stories to me out of that book. And she and my grandmother instilled a love of reading into me. And I would read through elementary school. Swiss Family Robinson. I read that book I don't know how many times. Pippi Longstockings. I would read the books about her. I'm trying to think of some of the other books that I read. The kids' books don't really stick with me that much. But I remember in 6th grade, when I went to 6th grade at Union Hill School, the library was pretty much opened up for us on our breaks and things like that. Whereas in the elementary part of it, we would go once a week to the library and be able to check out books. But once I hit 6th grade, I could go into the library on my breaks. I could go every day. It was not a one-day-a-week thing. So I was able to check out more books and read more. And I did. All sorts of books. And I will admit, I'm female. I kind of fell into the genre of the romance novels, historical romance, sci-fi romance, and then I just went basically into sci-fi novels, futuristic. I like a lot of historical novels. I mean, I like to read. Though I have to say it's been probably a good 10 years since I've actually sat down and read a book. I might have read parts of one, but just to say I've sat down and read, because, when I say I would read, I would sit down or lie down and read for hours on end. That was my getaway, especially when I was taking care of my mom. That was my escape, was to be able to go off into a book and disappear for a while. And having said all that, I have a list here with some of my favorite authors. I mean, there's a lot of authors that I love, a lot of books that I love, but some of these are actual series that these authors have written. Some of the authors, I've read a lot of the books in those series, but because they've written more since I haven't read or been reading a lot, I haven't read all of them. So what I would like to eventually do is, when I have the money, is to catch up on the series that I'm behind on, and really learn more about what's going on in those series. But like I said, you say, I got it all written down. There's a whole list up here, all the way down there. I have to say, as a teenager, from 6th grade on up, probably one of my favorite authors of all time was Janet Daly. And I had read some of her individual books, And then as a young adult, probably early 20s, I found a book that she wrote called Santiago, let's see, what is it called? It's called Silver Wings Santiago Blue. And I have read that book probably a good 100 times or better. I mean, that is just such a wonderful book. And it is about a lady in the Air Force. The Silver Wings, pilot Santiago Blue, which is the color of the uniform. So that was, where they got the name for the title was from that. And love that book. She also wrote a series called the Calder series about the Calder family, and it starts out in Montana. Well, actually pre-Montana, because they moved to Montana back in, I want to say, the 1800s, and about their family throughout the years on that land. And I love those books. I have not read all of them. I've only read probably about 5 of them, I think. I read 5 or 6 in that series, and I think there's like 11 or 12. So I've only read about half of them. I did not realize there were any more. Another author I truly love is Nora Roberts. Nora Roberts has written so many books over the time, and I've read a lot of her books. I just cannot remember right offhand the names of all the books that I know she's written. But one of her trilogies that she wrote, the Circle trilogy, I remember that one. I remember the last one in it being Morgan's Cross, and I've read the whole trilogy. I think I have all 3 of those. And I also like her other series, which is written under her pseudonym J.D. Robb, which is the In Death series. And I actually have a lot of those books. I don't have all of them. I would love to have all of them. But I love that series as well. And every time I get the chance, I reread those. And right now, I don't have that opportunity because all of my books are packed up. And, at one time, I had well over 1,500 books. And I mean well over 1,500. That was my personal library. And I have given them to people I know that love to read. I have donated them to the libraries. And I've only kept the ones I really wanted to keep, which is some of these authors that I'm naming here. Another one of my favorite authors is Christine Feehan. It could be pronounced Feehan. Feehan is F-E-E-H-A-N. She has many different series that she writes. She has studied so many different things as far as the wild animals and things that she writes about. The favorite, and what got me started reading her, is her Carpathian series. And if you're interested in any of these I'm talking about, I will make links to their websites on the description. I'll put the author's name and then the link to their site, and you can check out any of the books that you want to check out in the series that they do. But again, Christine Feehan, her Carpathian series is my all-time favorite of hers. And then anybody that checks that out, or if you know who I'm talking about with this, my favorite character in all of those books to date is Grigori, and you just have to check that out and understand. And then she has a series called the Ghost Walker series. I love those. They're great. The Leopard series, I've read several of those books. Awesome books. The Shadow series, I have read some of those. And she has the Sea Haven series, which again, I've read all 7 of those. And she does have another one I know called the Drake Sisters. I don't know if I've read those or not, but I do know that if it's written by her, it's an awesome book. And I think she may have some other stories as well. Another of my favorite authors is Laurel Kate Hamilton. She has written a lot of sci-fi. She's written some individual books, Night Seer being one of those. And I've read her individual books, but I've actually read her series more than I've read anything. She has two series, one being more popular than the other. The most popular is the Anita Blake series. It's the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series. That is her most popular series, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful series, but I actually like her other series better. I have all of the books in that series, and that is the Mary Gentry series. Again, just my personal preference, but I do love all the books, and I will read any of her books. She's an amazing author. If you like funny books, as far as romantic funny, and not even romantic, just funny, hilarious books, something to cheer you up, make you laugh, you got to check out Janet Ivanovich. She is hilarious. I actually that was probably one of the last books I actually read, was one of her books. And I was laying there and I was reading Pete, and what are you laughing at? And I was telling him about the book. And but yeah, it just every time, if I'm in a bad mood or down and really need a good pick me up, and I had my books available, I would be picking her books up every time to read, just to make me laugh. And she has many individual books on their own without being in the series. She has several different series that she writes. But the one that I really like is the Plum series. They're written about Stephanie Plum. She is a bounty hunter. And you'd have to read the books to understand how she became a bounty hunter, because it's hilarious. And you may have actually heard of this, because this used to be called it's For the Money series, or what is it? No, Counting. What is it? Counting by the Numbers, because it was 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, 4 to go. You know, all that, all through up to so many different numbers. And but she just put everything under the Plum series, because there are other books featuring Stephanie that are not in the Counting by the Numbers series. So all of them are hilarious. I love them, and you would just have to read the books. Like I said, there are sci-fi aspects to it, because Stephanie is from New Jersey, and so you'll hear her talking about the Jersey Devil and other mythical creatures that live out in the pines and other things. And it's kind of funny about the way things go in these books. But if you really need to pick me up, Janet Ivanovich, and again, I will list these authors in the description with this link to their websites, to where you can check out their books if you're interested. Another of my favorite authors, Sherilyn Kenyon. Love her books. She writes the Dark Hunter series and others. I mean, there's other things that she writes, but I really like the Dark Hunter series. And again, you would have to read about everything that's going on there, because there are so many books in this series, and how the Dark Hunters began. I think the last one that I have listed is Linda Howard, an all-time favorite. She has so many awesome books. She does have some series, and she has some standalones. One of her standalones that I truly love, and one of my all-time favorite of hers, is called Open Season. And I actually loaned out my copy of Open Season, and the girl I loaned it to, I never got it back from, because she stopped working at the place we were working at prior to me, so I never got my book back from her. But that's okay, because at least I know somebody else was enjoying the book. Another book that she writes is called Mr. Perfect. And that one cracks me up. It literally cracks me up. She's got one called An Independent Wife. I love that book. The Now You See Her, I like that book. It's very good. She's got the Blair Mallory books, which are very good. There's 2 of those in that series, and I have both of those. I love the books, like I said. She has a series called Spencer Nile Company. There are 3 books in that series. I think I've read all 3 of them. I know I've read the first one. I have read the first book, which is called Sarah's Child. Oh my goodness gracious, probably a good 200-300 times. That one is a tearjerker. And, you know, it is something that, it's a feel-good book, but it is a tearjerker, and it is something that truly makes you sit and think. But for anybody that loves to read, if you've not heard of these authors, please check them out. If you have heard of these authors and you like them, please let me know. Like I said, there's more authors that I like out there, and I'll read pretty much anything that catches my fancy. I've been known to read books about war. It's called they're called War Games. War Games is the title, the main title, and then you have the subtitles under for what it is, because I guess it's the series of War Games. I've got a lot of those that I've read. I have read, oh my goodness, I'm trying to sit here and think. A lot of suspense novels. I've read a lot of Stephen King. Y'all, I'm not a big Stephen King fan as for his being the person Stephen King, but he is an amazing author, and I have read a lot of his books. Just like I said, trying to sit here and think, there are so many that I've read through the years, and you take into account, I'll be 55 in July, and I started reading, adult books when I was 12. So you're looking at, 43 years that I've been reading, minus 10, so I'd say 33 years of active reading. And when I say active reading, I'm saying I would read anywhere from 1 to 3 books a day, depending on the size. If it was a thin book, I could read about 3 of them. If it was a thick book, I could read maybe 1 to 2 a day. I've read a lot of books, and a lot of the useless knowledge that I get in life comes from some of those books. I don't read just romance novels. I don't read just historical novels or futuristic or sci-fi. I read whatever catches my fancy, for the simple fact that I love to read. And James A. Michener, I've read some of his books. Like I said, I've read a lot of books, and some stick with me, some don't. The ones that stick with me are the ones that I have read the most, like Sarah's Child. I could probably tell you about that book. I won't bore you with details, but if you really want a good book to read, Sarah's Child is an awesome book. If you want a good series to read, any of these that I've listed is awesome. And I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I know men that read romance novels. I know men that read sci-fi. I know men that read historical novels. It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. If the book is interesting to you, it's interesting to you. I'm just saying, a love of reading can be instilled within a child when they're young. All it takes is a mom and a dad or a grandparent who is interested in taking the time and effort to start reading to that child when they're young. And you read the books to them, get them interested in what's in those books. Take away the iPhones, take away the iPads or the laptops or whatever, and read to a child. Give them an actual physical book to hold, pictures to look at when they're little, so that they can learn. It makes all the difference in the world. And read Bible stories to the kids. They'll learn to appreciate them. That's how I learned. And I know that if it had not been for my mom and my grandmother reading to me when I was little, I probably wouldn't have had that love of reading. But I looked forward to the books. Curious George. Loved Curious George. All of these books, I can remember, the childhood, just sitting in the floor and reading and, trying to pronounce the words. And it got to the point that instead of my mom and my grandmother reading to me, I wanted to read to them. I wanted to be the one to let them know that, hey, this is what this says. This is what this book is about. Excuse me, y'all. kitty cat trying to climb all over things. I apologize. But yeah, kids will love to share what they're learning. And I know I did. I loved to share the books. I loved to read to my grandmother. I loved to read to my mom. I would read to my cousins. And that is something that to this day I am so thankful for. That somebody loved me enough to read to me and to give me that gift. And that is a gift. So just wanted to share this with you. Hope y'all have a great day. Bye, y'all.